My name is Mary O'Connor. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of the Small Business Advocacy Division with the Department of Planning and Development. I'd like to begin today with highlighting some of the great things that are happening at the Department of Planning and Development. First, we have a new commissioner, Maurice Cox. In the short time that the commissioner has been with DPD, he has made great strides with the city, and the impact is already obvious through his vision and leadership. We created the new Small Business Advocacy Division. NOF, the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, SPIF, the Small Business Improvement Fund, and LARI, the Local Industrial Retention Initiative, are all part of the Small Business Advocacy Division. I think many of you are aware that Mayor Lightfoot announced and launched her new investment initiative, Invest Southwest. And over the last few months, the Neighborhood Opportunity Team has been working hard at including new enhancements and programs to the NOF program. I believe all these enhancements and additions will result in great things for all of you, your community, and your business. I know our team is excited to share with you all the great work we are doing in our enhancements. We want to learn about your project and be a part of your dream. But before we get started, I want to acknowledge a few people that have helped get this presentation make it possible today. First, we'd like to start with Davis Square Park, Don Serio and his team for hosting us today. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Our friends at Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council, Craig Chico is the president that I think will be dropping by later, but his team, Sonia Elridge and Ed from SSA 39 are here. We also would like to thank some of our community partners that'll be dropping in during today's session. Our community partners have helped promote this event, and they've also been instrumental in helping and assisting our applicants through the process. Over the last several months, we've been working closely with our community partners in developing and identifying new resources and programs to help you, not only along the application process, but throughout your own journey. We ask you to continue to visit our website. We will constantly update it with new programs and new resources for you to help you. I also encourage you to go out and meet your community partners. Let them know about your project and let them tell you what they're doing in the business community. We have with us today Summer Corps, Ruben Wadi. Summer Corps is our program administrator. They are instrumental in the success of this program. Ruben works tirelessly to help you through the application process, and not only the application process, but throughout your whole journey to get your project completed. He works under the leadership of Manny Flores, the president, who I think might pop in later today. And then, of course, my team. My team, of course, is spread out through the building today. But we have Susanna Soriana, who will give the presentation. Robert Bumpers was here, and I think he just disappeared. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Mary Kuhn. We have Emily Kish downstairs, Sophia Carey, and Dorian Rico. We also have with us today John Malloy, who will be able to answer any of the questions you have in regards to Invest Southwest. Let me see this one thing. Make sure I didn't miss anything. One thing I wanted to mention too is, I'm not sure if you all heard, but we are offering two presentations today, one in Spanish and one in English. Upstairs is the English presentation, downstairs is the Spanish. Sorry, did we make a change? Oh, sorry, there's been a change in plans. It looks like both presentations will be up here. So ignore my last thing. Again, thank you for joining us. I look forward to meeting all of you during your journey, and I'm going to pass it on to Susanna and Ruben.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, glad to see everyone's awake. So I will kick off the presentation. We don't have a clicker today, so I'm going to be moving back and forth, and apologies for that. Maybe Robert or someone? No, thank you. So Neighborhood Opportunity Fund is a program that was created in 2016. A zoning ordinance was passed to leverage downtown developments and utilize the new resources that were created into the communities.
Pardon me, Suzanne.
Yeah, sorry.
Can you move, maybe if you guys can move up a little
Move up.
closer to and just speak a little louder?
Yeah, can everyone hear me? No? All right. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna lose my voice today, but I'm gonna try. No, this. It'll be tough for the camera, so. Yeah, so Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, like I said, leverages downtown developments for, developments where the needs are the greatest in our local communities. So we're going to start with the agenda today so that you know everything that we're going to cover. Invest Southwest, we're going to talk about program goals, program achievements, the project eligibility, which everyone wants to understand, I'm sure, grant structure, grant application, our typical process, how long it lasts, program assistance, so new enhancements that we've developed and that will help every applicant, and including grantees going forward. Applicant Resources, this is where our community partners are really assisting us in working with our program. Upcoming information sessions and our contact information. So Invest Southwest is a mayor's initiative. This new initiative will focus private and public investments on local priorities. The Department of Planning and Development has identified 10 neighborhoods on the south and west side. The goals of the Invest Southwest initiative are to amplify local assets, focus public investments to support local priorities, drive private investments to build local wealth, and integrate new strategies to public safety. We do have a representative from Invest Southwest. If you have questions about this new initiative, I encourage everyone to ask any questions you have at the end of the presentation so that we can get through the presentation right now. And then anything you have, I will, all of our team will be happy to answer afterwards. Next slide. Invest Southwest does have their own, kickoff sessions. Feel free to attend any one of those. We do have upcoming on January 18th in Austin at the Kieran Center. And we have 2 more that you're welcome to join. Our program goals. Our program goals are really, like I mentioned in the beginning, to allocate the resources into our communities and the people most in need, the businesses most in need, into the small businesses, and support ongoing economic development. We want to attract commercial businesses, small businesses, and just cultural amenities that everyone wants to have. They want to have a cafe to come visit. They want to have, an art center, music. And so the goal of the program is to attract cultural and commercial amenities to our local communities. We do have a strategic focus on location. Like I said, we have a qualified investment area. The qualified investment area is located primarily in the west sides and the south sides and the southwest sides. You have to be located within the qualified investment area. And if you're a small business owner looking for a small project, you have to be located in a priority investment corridor or an eligible commercial corridor. And then you get additional weight in our scoring system if you're located in an Invest Southwest corridor. Our goal is also a catalyst for investment. We're looking for businesses that are catalytic. We would like some businesses that fill a gap, commercial, cultural, something that does not exist currently, or that would catalyze the corridor, that would revitalize it. We have 2 types of program tracks. We have the small and we have the large. So small projects are eligible to receive up to $250,000, and those could get approved through the Department of Planning and Development by the Commissioner. Large projects can go over $250,000, but not greater than $2.5 million. And those have a whole completely different process. Those have to get approval from the City Council, and we'll talk about that a little bit down the road. Our program achievements. So over the course of 2 years, we have received over 1,400 applications. We have had 3 rounds of funding, a total of $47 million towards small and large projects. As you can see, we've issued 191 grants, 174 for small and 17 large projects. So they're about equally divided financially, just about. And 74% of these businesses that we awarded are owned by minorities, and 93% are led by minorities, so they could be not-for-profits that we've awarded. I am going to introduce Ruben Wadi now, who will be talking about other components of the program.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me in the back? Yes. All right. I'm going to back up a little bit. I don't want to scream into their ears, okay? All right. So as far as program achievements, we're going to take a look at a large project first. There is a difference between large and small. We'll go over the mechanics of that a little bit later. So we have the Kieran Center for the Arts. That was a $1 million grant in the Austin neighborhood, 5628 West Washington Boulevard. Huge capacity, 1,000-seat performing arts center, provides community and recreational as well as educational programming for the Austin community. Next slide. And as far as a small project, we have Ositos Tap, located in the Little Village and area over there on 2553 South Ridgeway Avenue. This was a $155,000 grant. So this is actually a neighborhood tavern that's been in the area for quite a while. They actually own a liquor store, and so they converted a section of the building into a tavern where you can sit down and fraternize with the people in the neighborhood. So they specialize in craft cocktails that particularly reflects the modern Latin America culture, and is also a little bit of a speakeasy vibe there. They just opened, so I encourage you guys to go to that tavern if you guys are in the neighborhood. Next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about eligibility, particularly with the small projects. Like I said, there is a difference between NOF large and NOF small, so we'll go over that. So what is a small project? Basically, it is a grant that's asking for exactly $250,000 or less. Anything more than that is NOF large. So as far as applicant type, you can be a business owner, a commercial business owner. You can be a property owner, landlord, or you can be a nonprofit. You can also be any combination of those as well, as long as the usage type is eligible. So projects must be located in an eligible commercial corridor or priority investment corridor. So we have what's called qualified investment areas. Within the qualified investment areas, we have eligible commercial corridors and priority investment corridors. Small grants must be located on what's called an eligible commercial corridor or a priority investment corridor. If it's not located on that corridor, it does not qualify for the small grant. So, like I said, they can be located in the primary and investment corridor, which are within eligible commercial corridors, or the Invest Southwest region, which will receive more weight as we're scoring the applications as we get them this month and next month. Next slide. Large projects. So, like I said before, anything above $250,000 qualifies as a large grant. So they can be business owners, property owners, landowners, landlords, or nonprofits. They could be located within an eligible commercial corridor or outside of an eligible commercial corridor. So again, for small projects, you have to be on an eligible commercial corridor. If you're a large project, you do not have to be located on an eligible commercial corridor, but you have to be located in a qualified investment area. Projects must receive City Council approval. So when large projects are ready to go, they are reviewed by City Council for their viability, and then once they get that approval, the project begins. Small projects do not have to get the City Council approval, but large projects must get this. That's a crucial element. They also have to adhere to a few terms coming from the City of Chicago, such as a full redevelopment agreement that governs the terms of the grant, and they have to comply with the city's construction requirements for hiring, WBE, MBE, local hiring, prevailing wage, things of that nature. So again, these are things that don't apply to the small grants, but for the large grants, they're crucial to the success. Next slide. So what do we fund exactly? This is a rehabilitation grant for the physical infrastructure of the building. So basically, think of it this way: if the business leaves a property, what's left behind is normally the physical infrastructure. That's what's eligible for the grant. So we're talking about floors, roofing, walls, HVAC, mechanicals, and other things of that nature. That is what is eligible. So we can do a rehabilitation of new and existing commercial uses which are accessible to the public, hence why they're on eligible commercial corridors and priority investment corridors. We can also do some new construction, some new construction as well of existing cultural assets which are also accessible to the public. So what do we not fund? We do not fund residential uses. So if you're trying to rehab a single-family home, this is not the grant for that. This is for commercial buildings with commercial uses. We also don't provide grants for manufacturing or industrial uses unless there is a commercial component to it. We also don't do places of worship, workforce development centers, and social services without a primary commercial use. So again, the crucial element there for project eligibility is making sure that the project has a commercial use associated with it. So let's talk about how to use the grant funds a little bit. So we can do some minor site improvements like fencing or planters that when part of an eligible project. So the crucial thing that we can fund are rehabilitation and new construction elements like flooring, roofing, walls, and things like that. We can also do site improvements. Now, if you're only applying for site improvements, we won't be able to, that won't be eligible because by itself, site improvements are not an eligible cost. But when they're a part of a larger project, they are eligible. We cover building acquisition when there is a rehab or new construction component to it, demolition and environmental remediation. We can do security measures like CCTV systems and other things of that nature. Roofing, facade, mechanical systems repair, that's sort of the bread and butter of the program right there. We cover architectural and engineering fees as well, AKA soft costs and pre-development costs. And then mechanical systems like HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. Those are sort of the bread and butter of the program. How to not use grant funds. So if you're looking to do minor repairs and improvements like painting or recalking a wall to fill a hole, we won't be able to do it. Now, a part of a larger project, like let's say you're trying to do a gut rehab and you need to do painting after you erected the walls, totally fine, you can do painting then. But if you're just trying to paint your walls and you're not trying to do anything else, that's when it is not eligible. So a part of a larger project, we can do painting and minor repairs. But if it's just the painting and the minor repairs, we wouldn't be able to cover it. Construction and rehabilitation of residential units or the residential portion of a mixed-use building. So if this is a single-family residential unit, we won't be able to do it. Now let's talk a little bit about mixed use. We'll be able to cover the commercial rehab or the commercial space of a mixed-use building, but we won't be able to cover the residential portion. So if we're talking about 3 floors, first floor commercial, other 2 floors are residential, we will be able to do that first floor commercial, but we won't be able to do the other 2 floors residential. That's how mixed-use buildings work for this grant. We don't cover support programs or services, repairs or improvements to bring a building into compliance with the City of Chicago's building code. So if you've been cited for particularly egregious violations coming from the City of Chicago building code, we won't be able to cover those, even if they are eligible costs, because that's trying to cover a legal expense technically incurred by a City of Chicago building violation. So we do not cover those types of expenses. We also don't cover operating expenses for a business. So if you're trying to use this grant to cover wages for your employees and other things of that nature, we won't be able to cover it. And finally, travel or lodging / hotel expenses. So on the right there, those are the things we do not cover, and on the left there are the things we do cover. So let's talk a little bit about the actual grant structure. So these are reimbursements or rebates that are given to the grantee after the project has been paid for. We also have what's called an escrow account. But basically talking about how this is reimbursed. The grantee pays upfront for the cost of the project, and then based off their eligible percentage, they receive whatever that is back. So if they paid $100,000 and they're eligible for a 50% grant, they get a $50,000 rebate off those total project costs. So then grantees provide the remaining funds to each 100% of the total project cost. So if this is a 75% grant, you have $100,000 project costs. The NOF grant will be $75,000 and the grantee contribution will be $25,000. Thanks. And a little bit about the structure, because there's a difference between rehabilitation and new construction. So rehabilitation is covered up to 50% of total project costs, whereas new construction is covered at 30%. So if you're doing a rehabilitation grant, you can get up to 100% of your total project costs. If you take your 50%, the 50% rebate value of the rehabilitation grant, plus the two building community wealth bonuses, the local hiring building community wealth bonus and the local owner community wealth bonus. If you are doing a rehabilitation project, you qualify for the local owner bonus, and you agree to do the local hiring bonus as well, you can potentially receive up to 100% of your total project costs to cover your grant. If you're doing new construction, you can do up to 80%. That's because new construction is reimbursable up to 30% as a base value. But the building community wealth bonuses are each at 25% of total project costs. So on a $100,000 project, you'll get a $30,000 base grant plus an additional $50,000 for the bonuses if you qualify for both of them, which means that you'll get an $80,000 grant on a new construction project. Now I'm going to hand it off over to Susanna.
Okay, just to clarify a little bit, if you apply for a rehab, you can get 50%, and that's your base. If you apply for local hiring, you get an additional 25% as a reimbursement. If you apply for local residency, you get an additional 25%. So that's how you can get to your 100%. If you do new construction, your base grant is 30% of total project cost. If you apply for local residency, you get 25%, and then an additional 25% on top if you apply for local hiring. Now, local hiring is the only piece of the pie that is reimbursable because you need to hire employees after your project has been completed. So you need to have at least 25% equity in order to get your local hiring reimbursed. I just wanted to clarify that because I get a lot of questions on this portion. And then moving on to the next slide. So the application. We have a new application this year. It's online. Previously, we've done it via paper. Everyone submits their application. We review it manually. It's a very lengthy process. We've upgraded our ways, and now we have an online application. So before you begin your online application, we encourage you to confirm your project eligibility. We have a map on the website that's available right now. Check your location, where you want to be, located, plug it into the website and see if you're eligible, because that's really the first make it or break it. Moving on, we encourage you to also review our program manual. Now, our program manual is currently not on the website because we're making enhancements to it, but it will be up before the application date of January 20th. So just to clarify, January 20th is the application date. Review the program manual. If you have any questions, send an email to us at nof@cityofchicago.org. And then develop your project proposal. It's extremely important for us to understand your project. So if you don't fully understand it and you don't fully, explain it on your application, then we're not going to understand what you're trying to accomplish. And so before the application even opens, just continue to fully develop your project idea and explain it well on paper for us. And then secure your sources of project funding. So one of the biggest issues we've encountered over time is how do you get your 25% equity? You need to have that type of funding available, and you need to either, borrow it from, grandma, grandpa, you need to go to a bank and get some sort of line of credit or construction loan, or just understand what type of funding you can get to secure for your project before you even apply. So we don't require you to have it, but we do ask that you at least start the process so that you understand what you need before you get to that application. So we're listing out, and I'm not going to go one by one, but we're listing out what you're going to need in order to apply. It's important for you to know what your business type is. So are you going to be a restaurant? Are you going to be a grocery store or a cafe? So identify it for us. Like Ruben said, manufacturing is not eligible, residential is not eligible. So if you go in and try to put, I'm trying to redo my house, you're not going to get through. Your applicant contact information, your business information, your project description. So it's all the basics. And this is, by the way, there's a two-step process. It's a pre-screener where we ask you all these preliminary questions, and then you get to the application. Next slide, please. So the part of the pre-screener right now is you apply, or you submit your basic information, location, who you are, tell us a little bit about your project. If you pass, you will get a unique code identifier, which will allow you to apply into our application. If you do not pass, you'll get some sort of notice letting you know what it is that you need to develop further. So you still have an opportunity to go back and resolve whatever it is that we're saying you still need to resolve. And then you can move on to your full application. The full application is about 2 to 3 pages long. Is that right, Mary? Yeah. Moving on to the grant application. So I have to repeat the parts that are important. Location, location, location. You have to be within the qualified investment area. You have to be in an eligible commercial corridor if you're a small project, or a priority investment corridor. And we really encourage you to be within an Invest Southwest location. It's important, you can go back. So you have to be able to explain what the catalytic impact of your project is. So what is it going to bring to the community? What is it going to bring to the commercial corridor? How is it going to revitalize it? Why is it important? And you need to be able to really explain that to us, because it's not easy, it's not easy for us to identify it unless you explain it well. Project readiness. So you need to understand how much your project is going to cost, so you need to be able to develop the plans. You need contractor bids, so if you've already gotten that far, you'd really understand how much your project is going to cost. So it's important for us, and you can go back to the grant application still. Yeah, so it's important for you to know how ready your project is and explain that as well. Like, what have you done to get your project ready and get it started? And I also talked about the financial feasibility, making sure you have the ability to get funds for your project. Because while NOF will fund up to 100%, you still need the 25% at some point. And then the construction implementation is what we talked about as well. You need to have contractor bids. You need to really understand how much your project's going to cost. Talk to architects, all of that. It's much harder to complete your project if you haven't done any of that. So get started, and hopefully, everything will work out in your application. So the application windows, another thing we're changing is previously we didn't really identify when the application windows were going to open. We do know now it's going to be every January and every July going forward. So you can expect the applications to open at that point. So if you're not ready now on January 20th, you still have some work to do. No worries, we're still going to open it in July. You can apply then, and maybe your application will be stronger at that point. So there's no rush. It's not first come, first serve. It's whoever has the most ready and eligible application is who's going to get through to the finalists. Our application review. So our goal is to close the applications by the end of February. So February 29th is the closing date. We'll spend the entire month of March reviewing all the applications and then just vetting through the vetting process. And then our goal is to actually have decision letters for finalists by end of March, early April. That's kind of an aggressive timeline, but that's our goal for now. What's the typical process? So you're an applicant, you submit all your information. Once you submit all your information and you've gone through the next round, you'd be considered a finalist. A finalist now at this point, you have to get scofflaw cleared, you have to submit your legal documentation, we have to really legitimatize your business and your business idea. Once you get through that process, then you're considered a grantee. When you become a grantee, the Department of Planning and Development will issue a conditional award letter. This conditional award letter will tell you how much you're eligible to receive in grant, contingent upon receiving, your financial, your loan or whatever it is that you're waiting for to finalize that. You do need to obtain permits, and then you can begin construction. So the key here is do not begin construction on your project until you've been notified that you're a finalist. If you begin anytime, actually even a grantee, if you begin anytime before then, it's hard for us to try and go back. We really won't have the ability to, retroactively get your costs and then reimburse you for that. So we really encourage you to not start your project until you've been determined a finalist or a grantee. Program assistance. We do have some new enhancements to the program that we rolled out mid-2019, late 2019. So this is brand new for every new applicant. Not all of it. Technical assistance, which is our first one here, we rolled that out in early 2019. What that means is once you are a grantee, you have the ability to get a lending coach or a construction manager to help you navigate through all of the steps that you need to complete your project. Neighborhood Opportunity Fund will pay 95% of your technical assistant advisor. So if you need help getting a loan, you can hire a lending coach that is in our list, our vetted list of 20 lending coaches and construction managers, and we'll pay 95% of the contract. That's only up to $25,000. Anything beyond that, it's out of your own pocket. Concierge. We do have a team. Our team is spread out here today of 3 or 4, I can't remember right now, of concierge. What that means is as you're trying to move your project along, our team can help you get through the process internally within the city. So you have to get through buildings, you have to get, permitting, you have to, your licensing, your scofflaw. All of that can be kind of frightening if you're, your first time trying to start your project. But we're here to help you navigate that entire component of your project through our concierge. Pre-development costs. This is, again, brand new. We heard a lot of issues and complaints from everybody, grantees, community partners, that you have to incur costs before you get an award, such as your architect, maybe engineering, maybe an appraisal, and these are costs that you just, it starts to drain your cash flow, basically. We're happy to offer pre-development for you, so we will pay 75%. Before we make any payments for your pre-development, you have to clear scofflaw. So what that means is we need to make sure you don't owe the city any money before we pay you any money. Right. It's real. So I'm happy that you all understand that this is something that you need to clear up. And what that means is you don't have to pay all your debt. You have to at least set up a payment plan so that you can continue to pay your debt. So costs can be incurred no greater than 6 months before you become a finalist. So if you start now and you say, I need to talk to a contractor, but they're going to charge me some set of money, or an architect so that I can at least engage my contractor. You can engage your architect now at your own risk. And then if you become a finalist or a grantee, we will reimburse you that once you substantiate those expenses. And then escrow is our last new development, new enhancement. We've always had escrow available for small projects. So that means we can pay you during construction. If you need to get funding during your construction because it'll help your cash flow, you don't incur costs from the bank for borrowing money, then we can pay you during construction. However, that was something that was not eligible for our large grantees. It is now. There is separate documentation, but the process is fairly simple. We work together really well with Chicago Title, and I can explain further if you get to that process. Applicant resources. We do have community partners, some of which are here. And then I don't know if, did any community partners want to raise your hand and let us know that you're here? So Little Village is here. Okay, sorry I missed you over there. Hi, so thank you for joining us. Our community partners are hosting information sessions as well. So if you need to hear this again, you need to learn a little bit more, or you are in that community and you want to just learn about their resources, please visit them. We do have a list online on our website of all of our partner information sessions and application workshops that you can attend. Yes, there are application workshops, and we do have that online available now, so you can go on and check that out. We don't, but our partners also offer coaching, one-on-one coaching, and that's also available online. And subject matter experts. So if you are looking at something in particular, how to start your cafe, we might have some subject matter experts within our community partners that have offered to talk to you so that you can work on that concept. Our upcoming information sessions, we have, of course, you're here today. Thank you very much for joining us. We have one tomorrow at the Cultural Center. That one is specialized for the arts and culture. So if you're thinking about doing something cultural and you want to learn, what additional resources are available, or just more about the arts through the City of Chicago, join us tomorrow at 5:30 at the Chicago Cultural Center. And then our last one will be February 6th at the Kieran Center in Austin. We do ask that you connect with us and that you contact us through the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund email. That's nof@cityofchicago.org. You can reach me there. You can reach every member of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund there. Send us emails. We are responsive. We do our best to respond, so we may have a lot of emails today, but we will do our best to get to you. And then follow us via LinkedIn, Twitter. We're on Facebook, so please join us and connect with us. And this ends our presentation about the program. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now, and we can all answer that. So all of us can answer, but go ahead.
My question was, do you need to own already?
You got to. I think everyone needs to be able to hear you, and you can. They can't hear you through there. But you can talk.
Oh, okay. My question was, do you need to own the property that you're potentially putting the business in?
So that, she's asking, do you need to own the property that you have to potentially put your business in? No, you don't. You can be a tenant, but we do ask that the owner of the building sign an affidavit. That means they're going to let you, do a rehab or whatever it is that you want to change up in the space. We do ask a copy of the lease, and it needs to reflect that you can be in there for at least 3 years. So we have a covenant that I didn't talk about. You need to have your business for 3 years, at least. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
If the price of your project is sizable and you wanted to purchase the building that's within the $250,000, is that possible?
Did everyone hear? Okay. So if you want to purchase a building and it's within the $250,000, is that allowed? Yes. Acquisition cost is a reimbursable expense. However, there are some rules to that. We cannot solely reimburse an acquisition. So if you're looking to, buy a property for $250,000 and do $10,000 in improvements, you're only going to get $10,000 towards acquisition costs. The amount of acquisition costs that we reimburse is, it has to be equal to the amount of work that you're going to do to the property. Does that answer your question? Sorry, go ahead.
So it talks about the extra bonuses. I'm wondering if the business is a corporation and it's got a board of directors, a nonprofit. How does that play into it?
Ruben, do you want to take that?
Sure. So the question was, how does the local hiring bonus work if you are a nonprofit? Okay, so this is a corporation that has a board of directors, but it doesn't have any owners? Okay, so if the organization, normally it's a nonprofit, but if the organization doesn't have any owners, and Susanna, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't actually qualify for the local owner bonus. It only qualifies for the local hiring bonus. So again, if the corporation does not have owners, but it has a board of directors, it does not qualify for the local owner bonus, only the local hiring bonus.
Yeah, that's correct. I have a question. I'm going to go to the back, and then I'm going to move it back forward. So, Robert, if you can get the gentleman back there.
You're not.
I'll just speak loudly. So,
Yes,
so once the dollars are granted, you're fully operational into the future. Is there anything that prevents, any clauses that prevents the acquisition of your company? In other words, you have to hold on to the company for a period of time after it's operational?
So do you have to hold on to the company for a period of time after it's operational? There are 2 covenants that run with any grant that we give you for Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. First one is use. You have to operate it for the same use that we gave you the money for. So if we gave it to you for a cafe and suddenly you want to do a clothing store, you have to get our approval because that's not what we provided the funding for. Or if if we gave it to you for a clinic, let's say, office space, and then you're doing cannabis, you need to get approval for that. So that covenant runs for 3 years. And then we also have a covenant that means you need to occupy the space for at least 3 years. So if your business is operational for 3 years, then you've met the covenants. But if your business stops operation in year 1, then you've violated our covenant. And that's a covenant for both small and large. Okay. Can you submit multiple applications at one time? Yes. It has to be for different locations and different projects. So you cannot, if you're trying to submit one application for the same project, different locations, it'll be hard for us to really understand how your budget makes sense, right? Because then you have to get a budget for every single property, and it gets a little complicated. But if you're thinking you have 3 separate business ideas, yes, absolutely, you can apply 3 separate times.
Are the deadlines the same for nonprofit organizations, and is the process the same?
So is the deadline the same for nonprofit organizations, and is the process the same? Yes. The process is the same for everybody, and the deadline is the same for everybody. So we're not going to prioritize anyone based on who you are. We're still going to have our scoring process, and that's going to apply to every single person that applies. Yeah.
What's required for the local residencies? Is it in the zones, the commercial areas, kind of where is it? And the second question is the program assistance amount in addition to the grant, or would it be part of the total grant you're getting?
The program assistance?
Yeah, so the concierge and the couple of...
Okay, good question. She's asking, are the funds that you're receiving in addition, like if you apply for technical assistance or if you apply for the Build Community Wealth residency, is it in addition to your project? No. It's twofold. It's in addition. However, you have to stay within the $250,000 range. So if you exceed $250,000, now you're in the large project, and now you need city council approval. And that is a whole separate process, like I said, so you have to stay under 250. You can apply for every single thing: technical assistance, pre-development, local hiring, local residency, but it all has to stay within the $250,000. And then the second part of that question is local residency. You have to be located within the qualified investment area. You cannot be outside the qualified investment area. However, if you're, if your business is in Inglewood and you live in back of the yards, that's still okay because it's all within the qualified investment area. You have to live in that area? You have to live within the qualified investment area. Personal residence. So if you live in Oak Park, you're not eligible. But you can live in a different area within the qualified investment area. Does that answer everyone's question? And it's the same for local hiring. Whoever you hire has to live within the qualified investment area.
I can actually speak louder. Is there a certain amount within the fund or goal as far as the number of applications you are looking to approve this year?
Is there a certain amount or goal that we're looking to approve this year? Sort of. Our funding is limited. We don't have unlimited resources, and so we have to limit the amount of projects and applications that we approve based on the resources that we have available. And at the moment, we're trying to identify what that is, so I cannot answer it specifically. But yes, we're not, last year, 2019, we approved 86 projects. We're not going to do that this time. So it'd be substantially less. I'll go here.
Are the small and large projects due at the same time, application, or are the large?
Are the large and small projects due at the same time? Thank you. Right now, the large applications are closed. Only small applications are open. Previously, we had large applications open on an ongoing basis. You can apply at any point, and we will review your application and just continue our conversations. We don't have resources available for large right now, and so we've closed down our application window for large.
Hello. I'm not sure when you said that the funds will be dispersed. I saw April you would send out the reward letters, but when do you actually receive the funds?
When do you actually receive the funds? As soon as you are able to provide us with the documentation that we require, and as soon as you receive a conditional award letter, you can start construction. So it really depends on you. If we give an award out in April, per se, and you're ready to start the day after we give you an award, you can start construction and we will reimburse you according to whatever schedule you've determined that you want. We're able to do it rather quickly. I'm going to go back and then I'll come back.
Part of your slide says that you want site control, but you're saying that your decision is only temporary in March. That's going to be potentially March. So from a contractual perspective, if I'm only going to go under contract or something for 90 days in the real estate deal, when will we actually get word that we want to get?
So, right, so with regards to site control, we do prefer anyone that has site control, meaning you own it, or if you're looking to own it, then you have a purchase contract, or you have a letter of intent to purchase. If you are looking to lease out space because you're not going to own it, then you have a letter of intent or a lease in place, something that will let us know that you're working towards it or that you already have control. In the past, we experienced a lot of issues with site control, meaning we just approved people without them actually having it secured, and then they lost the sites. And so we weren't able to do the project because they lost everything that they were working towards. So that's why it's important for us, for you to have site control.
Hi, my question is, can the possible business be a franchise?
Can the possible business be a franchise? That's a good question. I don't remember at the moment. Do you remember, Ruben?
So it can't be a national chain like McDonald's or a currency exchange or something like that. I think we will evaluate those on a case-by-case basis. So we're talking about 2 or 3 locations, maybe. But if we're talking about 10 locations, lots of locations, probably not. But we evaluate those on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, we do. And to add, Robert just reminded me, we have done one where it is a franchise. It was not awarded to the franchise. It was awarded to the landowner. And so they are going to have some franchisees in their tenant spaces, but they are minority-owned franchisees. Yeah.
I'd like a clarification on the reimbursement. Assuming that I am purchasing property and fits within the guidelines financially, let's use your example of $100,000. If I'm eligible for 75% reimbursement, do I purchase the property, get the mortgage, make payments on it, and then get reimbursed? Or do I get reimbursed for the loan at the time that I actually become a grantee?
So if you purchase the property and you need to make payments, it's actually at your own risk because you don't know now if you're going to become a grantee.
No, I'm saying within the time frame. I buy it October 1st. I'm a grantee. I purchased the property.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing to reimburse yet. So at what point do I start receiving money?
If you start your project, which you're planning to do a redevelopment, I hope, you can start getting your money once you start constructing. So once you start your construction project, we can start reimbursing you. But as a reminder, we're not going to reimburse you first for the purchase of the property because we want to see your project finished. Does that make sense? We can talk offline.
Will you reimburse the purchase of the property after the work is done?
Will we reimburse for the purchase of property after the work is done? No. No. We're looking for it to be joint. If you're looking to do a redevelopment of a project and you are buying the property or you already bought the property 6 months prior to you becoming a finalist, we will reimburse the work that you start. So like I said, it's important that no construction starts before you become a finalist or an awardee. It gets way too complicated. Yeah.
If you are doing a larger project, do you have to live in the vicinity of where you're doing the project for the larger projects?
So you don't, if you're doing a small or large project, you don't have to live within the qualified investment area unless you want to qualify for the Build Community Wealth Bonus for local residency. So for any project, you can live anywhere you want to and build within the qualified investment area. But if you want to qualify for the 25%, yes. Small, large, you have to live within the qualified investment area. Yeah.
If you have an existing commercial building, can you add an addition?
If you have an existing commercial building, can you have an addition? Yes. An addition is considered new construction. You would qualify for 30% as a grant base, and then if you want to apply for the other Build Community Wealth bonuses, you can add that on top. But yes, you can have an addition to your existing property and apply. Any other questions? Yeah.
There's a property, commercial property with a residential attached to it, and I have the intent of living there in the residential part, but my main goal is the commercial part. What gap line in between? Like say for an example, if I want to open up the commercial as soon as possible, but the whole thing needs rehab, and I'm not so concerned about the residential, but my intent is to live there also.
So his intention is to live in a mixed-use building where there's residential, but he wants to develop the commercial piece. That qualifies. You live in the area and you're developing the commercial portion, but it's important that you understand that only the commercial portion is eligible. So we would have to do a pro rata calculation as to what part is going to be funded, what part of the work is only for commercial, and we would exclude the residential part. And then you would qualify for the Build Community Wealth Bonus if it's in the qualified investment area. Yeah.
So for a leasing opportunity, you have an LOI on the space, and then you said that it needs to be brought up to code first, so the owner of the actual space will need to bring it up to code, and then everything after that could be potentially rewarded.
Yeah, if there's building violations, yes, it needs to be brought up to code. The Neighborhood Opportunity Fund will not pay any work that needs to be done to bring your building up to code. If you've already been cited, no, we won't fund that. Go here and then back.
Can grants be applied for the same building? Say the landlord applied for a grant to say do the mechanicals, the facade and that type of thing, and then the actual business owner applies for the grant to do other construction or build out inside of the building?
Can the landowner apply and can the tenant apply? I would say yes, the landowner can apply and the tenant can apply, but that doesn't mean you're both going to get the money. It's either one or the other. It's not going to be both of you. Yeah. I said I would go back there.
So my partner in the LLC resides in the qualified area. If I don't, would we be able to qualify for the local residency bonus?
Okay, so the question is, his partner resides in the qualified investment area. He doesn't. Does he qualify for the local residency bonus? If it's 51% or greater, yes. If he owns less than you do in the ownership of the company, then no. What?
You mentioned earlier that people were losing the site. Could you say, like, what do you mean when you say losing the site?
Yeah, so she has asked people that have lost the site when they've applied and then we haven't been able to do the project. They didn't have a lease in place or a purchase contract or a letter of intent. They were just hopeful that they would be able to secure that property. Somebody else either bought it or the landlord didn't want to enter into an agreement with them, And so they had to find another site. And many people, and Ruben, I'll give you the mic, you can talk about this more. Many of our grantees have lost the site multiple times, and we've been working with them throughout that process, but I'll let him elaborate.
What was the question again, sorry?
It's site control when they lose it.
Okay. So if you do happen to lose site control through the process, that is an unfortunate situation that has happened a few times. We're more than happy to work with you to identify a new site as long as it's within a qualified investment area and specifically an eligible commercial corridor. So it is something that happens, and we're willing to work with you, but we can't. The grant can't be held on to for an indefinite period of time. So we do have to establish timelines, and we do have to establish deadlines in order for you to reestablish site control. So more than happy, more than willing to work with you to find a new site after you've been selected, but it does have to happen in a timely fashion. And also keep in mind that you might not want to gain site control for the purpose of the grant, so it's also a financial situation that you might want to think through very carefully to make sure that you're making the proper financial decision for you and your business if that happens.
Thanks, Ruben. Okay, I'll go this way.
Hi, last question. I wanted to know if you didn't successfully go through the first round to make it to the applications, are you told at any point what you're missing so that you can work on the further one for July?
So if you don't make it through the first round, which she means the pre-screener, are you told what you need to do to successfully get through it? We guide you. So there will be messages that you will receive that will tell you exactly what you need to develop further. So for instance, if we're fully aware that you need to finance your project, at least a portion of it, and you tell us that you've done nothing for it, we will send you a message to let you know that you need to start working on it. And then you have time to get through that process still and reapply and resubmit. But we want you to be as honest as possible. So we don't want you to try and just, force the answers through, because once we start reading everything and talking to you about it, we will find out. So it's best for you to just be as honest as possible. And if you're not ready now, like I said, try in July. And just know that the application windows will open January and July every year. So you can apply at any of those points.
Yes, the question I have is, can you use far as the grant, far as equipment, supplies, and also can you use it as additional far as vehicles to support your business?
Machinery and equipment, not eligible. Yeah, we can calculate the base grant on your total project cost. So if you have machinery and equipment that is required for your business, we will calculate our base grant off of that, but you will not get reimbursed for it. So you need to have enough eligibles, Neighborhood Opportunity Fund eligibles, to get reimbursed. Some machinery and equipment that may be eligible, Ruben can talk more about it because he sees it on a day-to-day basis.
So the type of equipment that we're talking about that can be included as a part of the total project costs, which by the way get paid after the rehab portion is done, include things like kitchen hoods, stoves, and other equipment that are fixed into the fixtures of the actual building. So like with an oven, you have to connect it to the gas lines. And so that means it's a semi-permanent structure. So so things like that are eligible as part to be assessed by the total project cost, but things that wouldn't qualify are things like pots, pans, forks, knives, spoons, and other things of that nature. So certain type of equipment can be added to the total project cost, but then other types of equipment cannot be more than happy to expound upon that afterwards.
Right, if it's bolted and you can't leave the premises with it, it's eligible. If it's not bolted and you can carry it out, it's not eligible.
What documentation do you have to prove you have the 25% of total project cost? You need it in your bank account? Do you need a letter of intent?
What type of documentation do you need to prove that you have your financing in place? We accept letters from the bank. We accept letters from your accountant. We accept bank statements. So anything else that I can think of, accounting, bank statements? thank you, Emily. So everything that we accept is on the application. So if you say that you have your financing in place, we're going to ask you to upload it. And it'll tell you what you can upload. I feel like, did I miss anyone here?
Do nonprofits have to have are they also held to the 25% equity requirements, and can it be another grant?
Yes, not-for-profits are also held to the 25%, and it cannot be another grant. So it's all part of the evaluation. Yeah. And there's a question back there.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. When can you start the pre-screener? And I see it says credit score. So do you have to go to a credit agency to get your actual score? How does that work?
Thank you. Yeah. So when can you start the pre-screener? And it says that you need a credit. You need to know your credit. So where do you go to get your credit report? Freecreditreport.com. Yeah. There, you can look up your credit report for free in many different ways. And we do encourage everyone to know their credit score, because if you need to get funding, you do need to go to a bank at some point, and they're going to require your credit score. They're going to pull your credit. Credit Karma. Mm-hmm. Right. There are several community organizations like Back of the Yards.
Quick introduction here. I'm happy to help anyone with any aspect of the application process, whether it's obtaining your credit report online, perhaps you've identified a building and you need like property information on it. I can help you do that, and I can help you prepare your application as well. So I'm going to leave the stack of cards here.
Thank you, Sonia. Yeah.
Leave one here so you can just take a picture of it.
All right, any other questions? Okay, one last question, and then, sure. We'll take one last question. Mary will take the mic, and then all of us from the team will be available to answer your questions. So we have Emily in the back, Mary Kuhn on the side, Mary O'Connor, Ruben, and then Robert on this side. So we're spread out. You can ask any of us questions.
Quickly, is there a timeline to reopen the large project application?
Is there a timeline to reopen the large projects? We don't have a timeline yet. Like I said, our funding comes from downtown developments. We need to wait patiently for additional money to come in, and then we'll know.
Anything based on projections over the last couple of years?
We have projections, but it's still hard to really say when we're actually going to get the money. So we have an estimate of what we expect, but we don't know when. Yeah.
As Susanna mentioned, that our team will stay around to answer questions. We are all available to answer all your questions, but I wanted to make sure that we introduce some of our community partners. So Sonia, do you mind coming back up for a minute just to reintroduce yourself and give a quick spiel? I know you jumped in. Is Marissa still here from Little Village? Yeah. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself so that the applicants here get to meet you and hear a little bit about what your organization does? Is there any other community partner that I am missing right now? Again, I mentioned that please come up and join us. Okay, Sonia, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Hello again, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Again, my name is Sonia Eldridge, and I work at the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council. We work with small businesses. We're a City of Chicago delegate agency, so we work with small businesses, supporting them in identifying a space, getting licensing, permitting, and also connecting them to programs like these and helping them navigate the process. So if anybody needs help, navigating this process or has any questions. Maybe I can't answer all the questions, but I can certainly refer you to the right person who can, and I'd be happy to do so. Thank you again for coming, and best of luck to you on your applications.
Good afternoon or morning. It's still morning, I think. Norma Sanders with the Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corporation. We too are a neighborhood business development center. We also manage 2 special service areas. I have my special service area manager here as well. And ever since NOF has started, we have been helping people through this process. So the fact that it's automated, I think is gonna help a lot. And it's gonna help us help you even more. We too can help you with business plans. We can help you think through some of your business ideas. We can give you resources and connect you to people who can also do some of the architecture quotes and things that you need. So please, it's 100 neighborhood business development centers out there. So Sonia and I are here, but all over the city of Chicago, there are people just like us to help you. So go to the site and you will see us listed under neighborhood business development centers. And the 5 partners that are listed in your application are also small business centers as well, okay? All right.
Hi, my name is Marissa, and I'm with the Little Village Chamber of Commerce. Our doors are there open if you need help. We're there to assist. We are planning on doing maybe 2 workshops. We don't have the date yet, but you'll find us here. We're listed. Also, for those that speak Spanish, we're there if you feel more comfortable or need help, if Spanish is your first language. We're there to assist. Our address is here. Our phone number is not added, but it will be updated, and it will have our phone number for you to contact us as well. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Frankie Payne, Executive Director of the Southeast Chicago Chamber of Commerce. As Norma mentioned, there are a lot of NBDC organizations that are here to help you with guidance through this process. Getting affiliated with them is very important because we can kind of fill in the gaps if this is your first time applying for something like NOF, kind of getting you accustomed to what those gaps might be and how to fill that even before you complete the process and submit your application to the city. So please take advantage of us as a resource. I represent the Calumet Heights and Avalon Park area, but our organization is open to helping all types of small businesses.
Okay, thank you again, everyone. I hope you found this presentation useful, and we are happy to stick around and answer any questions for you. And good luck with your application.